There is so much buried in this text. Could probably preach a series of sermons just on this reading alone. And for us to really understand this reading, we need to look at it in its context. Where does it stand in the narrative of the book of Exodus? Chapter 33 is the middle of a 3-chapter story in which the people, again, have been complaining, but this time they were complaining because they didn't know where Moses was. If you were here 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the time where God from Mount Sinai gave the people of Israel God's commandments, God's boundaries, the 10 words and 10 commandments, in which he said, I will be your people, I will be your God, and you will be my people, but here are the boundaries for us. This is how we will define our relationship. God also gave them a number of other laws to go with it. And in chapter 24, the people say, everything you have said, we will do. Everything you have asked, we will be obedient to. That's chapter 24. And then we come to chapter 32. And in that middle space, Moses is still up on the mountain with God. We're told that Moses is there for 40 days and 40 nights. And we talk about short-term memory, right? How quickly we forget the things that we have promised to do. How quickly we are distracted by other things going on. And the people here, where's Moses? What's going on? Where's our leader? He promised he was going to take us to this new land of Canaan. He says he's gone to meet God. We heard God deliver the law to us, or the commandments. We know that it's the way God wants us to live, but come on. It's 40 days now. It's time. We want to see him. We want something to happen. So they complain enough to Aaron that he ends up making the golden calf. Asks them for all of their jewelry, melts it down, and fashions the golden calf. And then says, here is your God, O Israel. This is the God that brought you up out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And they proclaim a party in order to celebrate this new God. As they would say at the beginning of a new television episode, meanwhile, back up on the top of the mountain, God says to Moses, those people you brought out of Egypt have already forgotten what they said they would do. They've already forgotten that they said, we will do everything God asks. We will observe your boundaries. We will stay in relationship with you, O God. We will keep your covenant. And here it is, not even 40 days later. And they're partying to celebrate that they have this golden calf. And that is their God. And if we remember the 10 Commandments, the first 2 are really important. You will have no other gods before me, and you will not make an image out of anything that is in the earth and worship it, because I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Long story short, people die because God sends a plague among the people. And Moses tries to remind God that, wait a minute, this isn't my people, these are your people. And when Moses comes down from the mountain and he sees what the people are doing, even he is furious to say, you couldn't wait 40 days? You can't spend that time waiting for me to come back and tell you what God says? And he issues a call that says, who will be on God's side? He doesn't say who will be on my side. He says, who will be on God's side? And the priests of Levi join him, and he orders them to go through the camp and to kill the people who have been worshiping the golden calf. I am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity on the third unto the children, the third and the fourth generation of those that transgress. God sends a plague, and many thousands of people die. Moses says, perhaps I need to go talk to God. And I'm going to go to the tent of meeting, which is that place separated from our camp where I regularly go to commune with God, to ask God to stop the plague, to save us. Because in Egypt, God promised we would be God's people. We would make it to the land of Canaan, and everything would be wonderful there. It would be a land of abundance. But now we got angry. And our lesson today, our reading today, is where Moses is speaking with God. Moses is pleading with God. Moses is acting as an intercessor between an angry God and a willful, complaining people. Saying, God, remember who these people are. You promised. They're not my people. I didn't take them out of Egypt because I didn't want to. You remember that burning bush? I said, I can't do that. And you said, I'll be with you. I'll give you your brother Aaron to help you out. Well, that turned out well. Aaron's created the golden calf. God, these aren't my people. These are your people. God says, take them and go to Canaan. Take them. But I'm not going with you because I'm still so angry that if I go with them, I'm going to kill them all. And Moses shows that he truly is God's servant. That he is the leader of this people, and he takes that position seriously. He says, God, no. These are your people. If you kill them all of the nations that saw us escape from Egypt, all of the people in Egypt who we said we're coming into the desert to worship our God, all of them are going to say, that wasn't their God. He just brought them there to kill them. So please, go with us. You promised. You knew me by name. You promised I had your favor and that you would be with me as I led this people. Yes, they are rebellious. Yes, they are stubborn. They are resistant. They don't want to do what you've asked them to do. But they are still your people. Go with us. And if you won't go with us, kill me now. Blot my name out of the book. I don't want to be part of this venture anymore. And God says, I will go with you. And for Moses, that's still not enough. Just to hear God say, I will be with you in your ministry. I will walk with you. I will help you. I will support you. I know you by name. But for Moses, that wasn't enough. Moses is like, if I found favor in your sight, let me see your glory. Let me see you yet again. Let me talk to you face to face, because I want that assurance. I want to see it. I want to see your mouth say, I know you, Moses. I love you, Moses. You are my child. You are my servant, and I will go with you. God says, Moses, you have found favor in my sight. I know who you are. You are known. You are mine. These are my people. I will go with you, but you may not see my face. God sets another boundary. There are things God will do for us. There are things that we can ask. But one thing God will not do is to show humanity the full-on glory of God, because we can't handle that. And in this current scientific age, in this postmodern world, I sometimes wonder if we even would know if we saw God's backside. Do we look at what happens among us? Do we look at how we are spared, how God walks among and between us and helps us? Do we even take the time to sit and understand that God has been with us, or that God is moving forward with us? We don't always think of that. It is a tension we live with, that God, we want to be able to empirically measure. We want to be able to quantify. We want to be able to see it, describe it, put it in a box, and say, that's the God we're worshiping. We want to be able to make that God in an image that we know. But the God that Israel worshipped, the God who said, my name is, I will be who I will be, is beyond human comprehension. We want to use the word Lord, or we want to use many other phrases to talk about who God is, what God does. We want to be able to describe it, make a list, check it twice, and know this is God. But we need to also understand that there are certain experiences of and with God that are beyond and defy human understanding. But we do want to know that we have God's presence, that holy connection that defines where we are and how we are in relationship together with God. That presence, we want to know that it travels with us. Moses didn't want to take the people from the desert into Canaan without knowing that that presence, that holy other, that defied description, was with them. And I was reminded as I did my reading this week, each pastor, when they accept a call, hopes to discern God's voice or God's presence with them when they accept the call. When we say we're going to go from one church to another, or from no church to a church. We want to know that God walks beside us. That as we lead people, as we hope to shepherd God's people, that we don't do it alone. It's not in our own strength that we walk. But we know that Yahweh, that God who calls God's self, I will be who I will be, walks with us in our ministries. And, while I may be the ordained clergy in this church, we are all ministers of God. All of us have work to do for the kingdom. And it is my prayer for each and every one of us that we come to know that holy presence. That we have the desire, as we move forward, God, we can't do this without you. That as Sandy has to look at the checkbook balances, as the stewardship team has to worry about balancing an unbalanceable budget, that it is not, well, we can't because, but that it becomes, God, go with us moving forward. If this is your work, if we are your people, if this is what you want done in Rutherford, go with us. Provide for us. We cannot see God's glory, but we can certainly ask to receive God's grace. We can ask for God's presence to walk beside each one of us in this church, so that in our mutual ministry we might have the assurance that we do not walk alone, that God's covenant is also active in 2017 with those of us here at the Rutherford Congregational Church. May God add God's blessing. Amen.